Hey yo, what's good everybody? It's your boy Matthew Maley for MatthewMaley.com. Well, first off, let me apologize. I know I had said that, especially in my last couple poker recaps, that I was going to be getting another multiples quickly. And as I said in the last video, I don't know why, but my voice disappeared on me for about 3 days. So these recaps were from a few days back, but we're just now getting to them because unless you wanted me to talk like this for 30 minutes, it wasn't going to happen. And while there is that one actor who always plays mobsters who made a career talking like that, that's not me. So I apologize if I got to take a couple sips out of my water bottle like I did in the last video. But regardless, let's get to it. So after a decent win in my last video, I actually banked about 270 over the course of 3-4 hours. Decided, head back and play some cards. And sadly, it went a lot worse. But it is what it is. There were a couple hands that I misplayed. Couple bluffs that I misplayed. And, kind of just how poker goes sometimes. So, again, played 1-2 over at Planet Hollywood, as always. Bought in for standard 300. Again, had my Ferrari out on top of the chips. A lot of you guys have seen my post on Instagram. I bring a Hot Wheels car with me as my car protector. And Lamborghinis have been losing for me. So I changed up to my Ferrari 599 XX last session and it won. So I brought it back for this one. But for the first, probably hour and a half, 2 hours, I was card dead like, you wouldn't believe. And every time that I would pick up a hand, it would be in a bad position, with a raise and a re-raise in front of it. Or the times that I would want to play a hand like a queen 10 on the button, and it was folded around to me, I would raise. Then the, small blind would re-raise and the big blind would shove. Or at another time where I had Kojak, King Jack in the cutoff. And one person had called up to that point, so I thought, let's try to steal. So I put in a decent, I want to say I made it 16, maybe 18, since there was already somebody who called. The small blind folded, big blind called. Flop came out ace 9-4, I think. 3 spades. I didn't have a spade in my hand. Went check. No, I'm sorry. Big blind checked. Other guy checked to me as well. So I fired in a standard continuation bet. I think I bet 26. Big blind raised it to 75. Other dude went all in. I mucked. Big blind ended up folding. So it might have been a good squeeze play. I don't know. We didn't get to see what he had, but he was a pretty rocky opponent. So I'm betting he either had a really, really solid spade or a solid ace. Regardless, I had neither, so I let that one go. Had another hand. I picked up a few sets of pocket pairs. None of them ever connected, sadly. Picked up one hand that was kind of a big hand. I actually let go. One of my buddies, I mentioned him in the last video, his name's Kyle. Really cool dude. We talked for like 3 different days at the poker table. We're actually planning on, he's coming back in 2 weeks for the series. So we're going to end up linking up and probably play a little bit more then. But he sat down at the table, which it's always cool, having somebody that there. But at the same time, while we weren't playing together, you do sometimes soft play them, a little inadvertently. And actually had that happen with, I had ace queen, and I had called a bet of 12 with it, and he raised it to 36. And when it folded around, I had called it at 12, I think, under the gun plus 3, and then the cutoff had called, and he was on the small blind, and he raised it to 36. And even though it did kind of look like a steal attempt, because there was the action after me, I let it go. and turns out he ended up having ace queen. So we would have chopped it, but whatever. I don't know if I would have had the stones to, raise him on the flop, or because he ended up firing out a bet on the flop. I don't know if I would have had the, even just to float him on the flop and then make a play on another turn. I don't know. Honestly, I was okay folding there. Lost $12, whatever. So he very easily could have had ace king, and I would have been, dead to 3 cards. So, which we all know has happened a couple times. Another big hand, and this was my biggest mistake. I was teetering right around my starting stack. I mean, every time I would get up a little bit, I would drop, and then I would get up a little bit, and then I would drop, and then I would get down, and then I would get back up. And it was, the standard 1-2 roller coaster where I wasn't being as aggressive as I should have been. I was limping more because I do feel that I'm a better post-flop player than pre-flop. And there were a few players that weren't that great. So I, kind of felt that I could do what I needed to do and limped more hands than I should have. And then, a super scare card would hit on the flop. So I really couldn't attack it the way that I should. When you're getting 3 calls, you figure the likelihood is one of them is calling with an ace. If an ace flops and I throw in a continuation bet and I get raised, by a not that good a player who you figure isn't just trying to, make a play, you gotta let it go sometimes. And so there were a few hands like that. Again, sorry about that. Then at another time, I got queens and jacks on the big blind. Everybody folded around me. Awesome. Had jacks another time in the big blind. Came down to just me and the, and I'm sorry, the time when I had queens in the big blind, I wasn't in the big blind. I was under the gun +2 raised, and everybody folded around to me. That's what I meant to say. The time when I had jacks, was in the big blind, came around to me with the, guy to my right, small blind. We ended up, said, do you want to chop? And I showed him I had jacks, and he ended up having suited connectors. So I said, let's just check it down, and maybe we'll hit the jackpot. So we checked it all the way down. Nope, but he hit a straight, and I lost with my jacks. Is what it is. Had a good hand that I actually picked up with pocket 8s. Pocket 9s. It was pocket 9s. I called a raise of 18 pre-flop, as did this other lady who, she's kind of a regular. I've seen her a lot, but she's a rock. She also had like 60 in her stack when I got to the table. But I mean, I think I saw her play 2 hands the entire time. Ended up, flop came out great for me. It was like 8-4, 8-6-4. I mean, yeah, there's a straight possibility, but you don't expect that on a, raise to 18 pot. I ended up making a bet. No, I'm sorry. The guy who had initially raised made a bet at it. I re-raised. She called for all her chips, and he called. Turn card hit a king, I think, so a little bit of a scare card, and it went check, check, check. And river hit an ace, another scare card, went check, check, check. And I rolled over my 9s and it took it down. I didn't see the other 2 hands. So that hand got me back above 300. I got up to about 330 or so. So that was pretty solid. Then ended up picking up, the one real bad play that I made was just a bad time bluff. And I picked up queen 10, like 1 off the cutoff. So yeah, hijack, in the hijack seat. And, figured let's put in a raise. I had been sitting around for a long time. And I'm sorry, it was actually queen 9. It was queen 9 suited. And just sitting around. So, flop came up. I'm sorry, so I put in a raise, folded around, one guy called. Okay. So I figured I'll put in a continuation bet, we'll be good, yada yada, good. So flop came up king 8 blank. All right. All red, of course. Mine was of clubs, queen nine of clubs. And this was all red. So, guy checks to me. I put in 16. I remember in fact, I remember the exact betting on this hand because it happened again the very next hand. 16. Okay, he calls. All right, don't like that, but whatever. I don't think he's on a king. I really don't feel that he's on a king. So I'm praying he's on the 8, and as a hand like ace 8, we're good. Okay. Turn card comes out. I want to say it was a jack. It was a jack. So it opened up, not much, but I mean now I have a queen jack 8 on board. So really need a 10 badly, which is funny. So again, he checks to me. Okay, so now I throw in a bet of 26. Figuring 2 barrels, this guy's got to go away, right? He calls. Okay, and he takes a while to call. This guy, like, from the time he sat down, the game slowed to, like, molasses. This guy, he was a little drunk, but he really thought he was, sitting final table, the main event. Like, every action. Like, he'd be sitting there, watching everybody else check their cards, and the cards finally get to him, and it's, grab them. Squeeze one, squeeze the other. What's the bet? 02. All right, I fold. That was his folding motion. Imagine when he was raising. So he thinks about it for a while and finally does make the call with 26. All right. So river card comes out and pairs the no, it didn't pair. No, it paired the whatever the rag card was. Whatever the rag card was, which I think was either a 3 or a 4, whatever. It paired that. So there's a pair on board. And I didn't put him on that at all, personally. So I could have been even wrong with that. Again, he checks to me. And so now I'm like, okay, maybe some type of, 8 that he's just hoping I'll check down. I did not feel the king of the jack. Like, to my bones, I didn't feel the king of the jack. I also didn't feel that he had hit a 3 of a kind. So I ended up betting 65. And, I took a little bit of time to do it and put the bet out there, seemingly to get called in my mind. Thinking, okay, that means, he'll see it as I have the king. I've represented the king on all 3 streets. Get the hell out. Again, he thinks about it. I think he tanked for like 5 minutes and finally makes the call. And made the call with pocket 10s. So a third pair, he called a bet on the flop. Cool with that. Then calls a bet on the turn. Don't know if I could have done that. And calls a bet on the river with 2 10s. Good hand, bro, And I even said to my buddy Kyle across, I said, and he said, he's like, wow, he called all the way down with, with 2 10s. And I was like, yeah, but you know what? I want him to do that when I have ace king. Because I played it as though I had ace king. I mean, for all he knows, that could have been ace king. That is exactly how you would play ace king. So I literally say that to my boy. I say to him, I'm like, that's what I want him to do when I have ace king. Cards come out. Now I'm down to about $1.50 in my stack. That was a costly misstep. Look down. I got ace king. So I raise it to 12 again. Just the irony of it, it's just funny to me. So everybody folds around to the same guy that I just had this hand with. And he calls. Slowly. Very slowly. So I'm thinking, please just let me hit a king, let him hit second pair, or have a small pocket pair. Let's do this. Sure enough, flop comes up, king, queen, 4. Beautiful. He checks to me. And I bet 16. And just like I said, I'm like, well, let's try 16 again. Thinks about it a little bit, calls decently quickly. All right. Turn card comes, blank. Checks to me again. I'm like, all right, I bet 26. Let's try that again, you know, kind of jokingly, because trying to make it seem like I was steaming and, you know, hoping he would read it as a steam and as a bluff and therefore would make the call. He does, makes the call. All right, cool. River card comes, another blank. I'm 99% sure I'm in the best hand. And I got a little greedy. He again checks to me. And I should have just bet 65 like I did the prior one, or maybe 75, you know, and made some comment about it. Because I think I could have gotten paid off. Instead, I shoved. And granted, it was only about another $30 or $40 more. But I think the action of me going all in is what made him end up not calling. Because he tanked about it again for like 15 minutes. It felt like it was probably only about 3. But he tanked about it, and he even said, he's like, I'm struggling, man. Where am I at? I'm struggling. And I